Hello and welcome to IAMC Radio and Podcast.
We've got a lot to cover today, so let's jump right in.
You ready for this?
Oh, absolutely. I'm all set. Let's dive into those headlines.
Okay, so first up, we've got some news about Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduagan.
Okay.
INE, the Independent National Electoral Commission.
Right.
They've just confirmed that they received a petition to recall her from the Senate.
So this is moving forward.
Yeah, it looks like it. The petition was received just today, Monday, March 24th, by the Secretary to the Commission, Rose Aurier and Anthony.
This is interesting because, we've seen reports before about, legal battles surrounding this whole recall effort.
Right.
So it seems like there's been a lot of back and forth, and this petition is kind of like the next chapter in all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
now, sticking with politics, we have Senator Sunday Karimi.
Okay, what about him?
He's been summoned by the Nigeria police force.
Oh, wow. Why is that?
This is related to some pretty serious stuff.
Yeah.
There's an allegation of Russian KGB infiltration.
Infiltration? Where?
Within the National Assembly.
What? That's huge. What's the basis for this?
Well, the thing is, Senator Karimi shared a report. The title is, get this, KGB agent group warns Senate, a call for vigilance amidst threats to democracy. He shared it on the Senate's WhatsApp group.
Wow, just the title itself.
Yeah.
It's kind of alarming, isn't it?
Definitely. Now, even though Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduagan is currently suspended, she filed a petition with the Inspector General of Police on March 5th about this very report.
Yeah.
She's really concerned about national security implications.
Okay, so she's taking this really seriously.
Right.
And the timing of when Senator Karimi shared this report is, it's a bit odd,
How so?
It was 4:08 a.m. Singapore time, which, if you convert that, it was 8:08 p.m. in Nigeria.
On February 23rd, right?
Yeah. And we know that Senator Akpoti-Uduagan was in Singapore at that time.
Right.
It kind of makes you wonder, why share something like that at that particular moment? What was he thinking?
For sure. So now Senator Karimi's going to provide the police with all the details about this report, where it came from, who told him, the whole thing. He was summoned to the force headquarters in Abuja. Got to be there today, March 24th.
And they're not messing around, are they? I mean, that invitation letter they sent him, It's got all the specifics. Dated March 17th, 2025, signed by DCP Akin Fakorede. The reference number is CR 2000 AGP SLAUOP T1ABB Valo 115281, even the title of the letter.
What does it say?
Petition for the investigation of a publication titled KGB Agent Group Warns Senate, a call for vigilance amidst threats to democracy.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, they're making it very clear what this is about. Seems like they are taking this really seriously.
Definitely. Okay, let's switch gears for a moment. Some really concerning news out of Imo State. A Catholic priest has been kidnapped.
Oh no, that's terrible. Who?
Reverend Visor John Ubichu.
Where did this happen?
Iyamikwuru in the Oguta local government area.
I hope he's all right.
It's just awful. And the Owerri Catholic Archdiocese has confirmed this through a statement from Reverend Far Patrick Mubara. So Father Ubichu, he's the parish priest of Holy Family Catholic Church in Izombe.
And when did this happen?
He was kidnapped yesterday, Sunday, March 23rd.
Oh my goodness, how?
He was on his way to the annual priest's retreat along the Ijimikwuru Road.
That's just awful to hear. I hope they find him safe and sound.
Yeah, the Archdiocese is asking for prayers for his safe release.
We should definitely keep him and his community in our thoughts.
Absolutely. Okay, on a slightly different note, but still dealing with safety and security.
All right.
We have news from NAPD. That's the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons.
Okay. What have they been up to?
They just conducted a raid on a hotel in Zamaru near the Abuja airport.
Oh, wow. What did they find?
They rescued 7 people who were believed to be victims of human trafficking. They were being prepped for exploitation in Baghdad, Iraq.
That's scary to think about.
Yeah, it's a stark reminder of just how dangerous this can be.
Right. So what happened to the hotel?
The hotel manager was arrested.
They were arrested. On what grounds?
Well, there was intelligence suggesting some suspicious activity happening there.
Okay, so it sounds like this hotel was being used for something shady.
It seems that way, yeah. It's unsettling to think that this might be happening so close to a major airport.
Absolutely. Where were the victims from?
6 of them were from Lagos, and 1 was from Delta State.
And how did they end up there?
It sounds like they were tricked with promises of high-paying jobs, as caregivers. It's that classic tactic, making these false promises to lure them in.
It's just heartbreaking, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the victims even said she was told she'd be working as a house help in Baghdad with a good salary. It just shows how manipulative these traffickers can be.
So are there any leads on who's behind all this?
Well, NAP Time P says these victims were signed off by 2 different groups of recruiters, but they don't know who they are.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's definitely a network at play here.
And what's being done about that?
Well, Binta Adomu Bello, she's the Director General of NAP Time.
Okay.
She's condemned any service providers who are involved in human trafficking and has vowed to take legal action.
Good. They need to be held accountable.
Right. And here's another thing. The victims were actually being trained on how to avoid detection at the airport.
Seriously, that's a whole other level of messed up.
It really shows how organized and planned out these criminal gangs are.
It's disturbing, to say the least.
But on a positive note, the rescued victims are now receiving care and rehabilitation. And there's a manhunt going on to catch the other members of this trafficking ring.
It's a relief to know that the victims are getting the help they need and that NAP-TI is taking this so seriously.
Definitely. Okay, let's move on to some news about the evacuation of Nigerians from Libya.
Okay.
So NIDCOM, that's the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, they've announced that over 956 Nigerians were brought back from Libya during the first quarter of this year, 2025.
That's good news. How did they manage that?
It was a joint effort with IOM Nigeria, that's the International Organization for Migration, and also NCRMI, which is the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons.
It's always encouraging to see different organizations coming together like that.
Yeah, definitely. And they've got the numbers, too. 683 females, 132 males, 87 children, and 54 infants.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, it was spread out over 6 different batches between January and March.
Can you break that down?
Sure. So on January 28th, they brought back 152 people. Then in February, there were 3 batches, 145 on the 11th, 180 on the 19th, and 159 on the 25th.
Okay.
Then in March, they brought back 144 on the 4th and 176 on the 18th.
It's really quite something, you know.
What is?
When you think about it, they've brought back over 15,000 stranded Nigerians just in recent years. That's a huge number.
Yeah, it really is. And Honorabike Dabiri Arewa, she's the chairman CEO of NIDCOM.
Right.
She keeps advising Nigerians, like, don't take these dangerous routes, especially through Libya.
Yeah, Libya's been through a lot in recent years.
It's just too risky. She's really emphasizing, like, stick to legal ways to migrate.
I think that's really important, you know, to stress that, especially with all the dangers that are out there.
Absolutely. And the federal government's committed to protecting the rights of Nigerians abroad.
Good to hear that. Okay, what's next?
All right, let's head over to Kano State. There's some real tension brewing there.
Oh.
Over what?
The upcoming Salah Durbar.
What's going on with that?
Well, you've got Aminu Ado-Bayero and Lamido Sanusi, both claiming to be the emir.
Oh, right. I remember hearing about this. They've both been holding court in separate palaces, haven't they?
Exactly, since last May. It's created a very tricky situation.
Yeah, I can imagine. And the Salah Durbar is a really big deal, right?
Huge. It's a major cultural and religious event. It marks the end of Ramadan.
So how is this going to work with 2 emirs?
Well, the state government, under Governor Abba Yusuf, they removed Mr. Bayero and reinstated Mr. Sanusi under this new Emirates law.
And Governor Yusuf also appointed emirs for Karai, Rano, and Gaya.
So it's not just Kano, it's multiple Emirates involved.
Yeah. But Mr. Ado-Bayero's not backing down. He's actually challenging his removal in court.
Oh, wow.
So you've got Mr. Sanusi at the main Kano Emir's palace. And Mr. Ado-Bayero is at the mini palace in Nasarawa GRA.
It's like 2 parallel Emirates.
Yeah, it's pretty complicated.
So what's the plan for the Durbar?
Well, Governor Yusuf is telling all the Emirate councils to get ready for it. He's promising that things will be safe and secure for everyone.
Hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Mr. Ado-Bayero, through his private secretary, Abdullahi Kwaro, he's informed all the security agencies that he's also planning to hold the Durbar. And this would be happening at the same time as Mr. Sanusi's Durbar.
Oh, so they're both going ahead with it.
Looks like it.
I see where the tension's coming from. The Durbar is always a big draw, right?
Yeah, it's huge. It's several days of, like, parades and displays of horsemanship.
It's known for being really impressive, yeah.
Right. And it's got these traditional elements, the Hoan Sola, Hoan Dosh, Hoan Nasarawa, Homandoria, and Vanasau.
Yeah, there's a lot of history and tradition tied up in all of that.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be hard to keep things under control with 2 rival events happening, right?
That's the big worry. There's a real fear that things could turn violent between the two sides.
Hopefully they can find a way to keep the peace. Let's move on to something a bit more upbeat.
Okay, how about some good news from the world of entrepreneurship?
Sounds good. What's the story?
The Tony Elumelu Foundation, PIF, just announced a pretty significant grant.
How much are we talking?
$15 million.
Wow, that's a big chunk of change. Who's it for?
It's to support 3,000 entrepreneurs.
That's amazing.
And they're from 52 different African countries.
That's quite a reach.
Tony Elumelu himself, the founder of TPIF, he made the announcement while unveiling the 2025 cohort of their entrepreneurship program.
So what will this grant do for these entrepreneurs?
Well, each one of them is going to get a $5,000 seed grant.
That's fantastic, a real leg up.
Definitely. And Mr. Elumelu, he's always been a huge advocate for African entrepreneurship.
Yeah, he's really put his money where his mouth is.
For sure. He believes that it's the key to driving economic growth on the continent, to creating opportunities.
I think he's right,
And the work his foundation is doing is really amazing.
Absolutely. What's his overall vision?
He really sees Africa as self-sustaining, driven by all these young entrepreneurs with their ideas and energy.
I like that vision.
Yeah, it's inspiring. He emphasizes how important it is to give them access to capital, but also, things like business education, mentorship, and training.
It's about more than just the money, isn't it? It's about setting them up for success.
Exactly. So this program, it was actually started back in 2015 with the goal of empowering 10,000 young Africans over 10 years. They were going to give each one $5,000.
So they've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, and this year's their 15th anniversary.
And they've clearly expanded their ambitions.
Definitely. And Mr. Elumelu's got this great saying, Africa needs investment in its youth, not aid.
I love that. Investment, not aid.
Yeah, it's a powerful message.
What kind of results have they seen so far?
Well, Somachi Chris Asaluka, she's the CEO of T.
Okay.
She says they've given out over $100 million to more than 21,000 entrepreneurs since 2015.
Wow, that's a huge impact.
And those businesses, get this, they've created 1.5 million enterprises and brought in $4.5 billion in revenue.
That's incredible. Talk about a return on investment.
And for this 2025 cohort, they got over 200,000 applications. It just goes to show you how much entrepreneurial potential there is across Africa.
It's exciting to think about. So just to be clear, these entrepreneurs, they're getting $5,000 each, and it's not a loan, right?
Right. It's a non-refundable seed grant.
That takes a lot of pressure off.
Definitely. And the foundation is also keeping track of everyone's progress, making sure things are going well.
That's great. Accountability is so important.
It's a real investment in the future.
Absolutely. Okay, what's next on the list?
Let's shift gears again. We've got some news from the United States.
Okay.
It involves two Nigerians.
Okay.
Solomon Aluko and Nosakere Nobor. They've been caught up in a pretty big fraud case.
What happened?
They're facing some serious prison time, possibly up to 62 years.
62 years? That's a long time. What did they do?
Well, they were part of this group that was accused of defrauding the U.S. government out of a lot of money.
How much?
$50 million.
Wow, $50 million? That's a lot of money to be messing with.
Yeah, it's a big deal. So, along with these two Nigerians, there were four other people involved. Shannon And, Nicholas Pappas, Leonard Jukic, and Jorge Gonzalez. They were all arraigned in a New York court.
And what exactly were they doing?
It was a check fraud scheme. They were using stolen and fake identities to basically steal money.
And they got away with $50 million.
Well, that's what they managed to launder through all these funny bank accounts and shell companies they set up.
It sounds pretty sophisticated.
Yeah, it was a pretty elaborate operation. And the worst part is, they were targeting government assistance programs.
Oh, no. Like what?
Like COVID-19 relief funds, the employee retention credit, and the qualified sick leave wages credit.
Wow, that's really low, taking advantage of people who are struggling.
Yeah, it's pretty despicable.
Yeah.
And Matthew Podolsky, he's the acting U.S. attorney.
Okay.
He came out and said, look, this kind of exploitation of emergency aid, it's not going to fly. We're coming after anyone who tries to pull this kind of stuff.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. And Leslie Arbabsky's, she's the FBI's acting assistant director.
Right.
She described it as this brazen attempt to just rip off multiple government programs.
Yeah.
They're determined to bring those responsible to justice.
Good. They need to be held accountable.
And get this, Harry T. Javis Jr., he's a special agent in charge with the IRS.
Okay.
He said these guys were openly talking about what they were doing like it was no big deal, like they were untouchable.
So they weren't even trying to hide it.
Not really, no. And the scheme, it was pretty involved. They were opening all these bank accounts using these fake or stolen IDs. And get this, They had help from a bank teller.
Seriously, an inside man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Then they deposit all these bogus checks, including U.S. Treasury checks, some from phony IRS filings. Then they'd withdraw or transfer the money. They even stole checks straight from the mail and forged others.
So this was really well planned.
Oh, yeah. And there's this video they were passing around. They called it the 2021 Fraud Bible.
A fraud Bible that's .creative.
Yeah. And some of them were even seen wearing clothes with this Bag Hunter logo.
Bag Hunter? That's just weird.
The whole thing's kind of bizarre, honestly. So now they're facing charges for conspiracy to commit wire fraud and bank fraud. That could be 30 years. Then there's conspiracy to commit money laundering. That's another 20. Conspiracy to defraud the government. That's 10 years. And aggravated identity theft. That's a mandatory minimum of 2 years.
Those are some serious charges.
They are. The FBI, IRS-CI, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, and the NYPD, they all work together on this, and several assistant U.S. attorneys are handling the prosecution.
It's good to see so many agencies coming together to crack down on this kind of thing.
It's a big win for sure. Okay, last story for today. Going back to Ado State.
What's going on there?
There's been an incident involving some police officers, specifically from the SWAT unit.
Not good. What happened?
Well, they were caught on CCTV stealing mobile phones.
Stealing phones? From where?
From a shop in Idogun, in the O's local government area.
What were they doing there?
Apparently there was some unrest in the community.
Okay.
And this happened on March 22nd.
So it's just a couple of days ago.
Yeah. And the shop owner, his name is Seketi Adebole. He's got a barbershop there.
Okay.
But he's also got solar power set up so people can charge their phones there.
That's smart.
Yeah. And he says these officers broke in and took a bunch of phones that customers had left to charge.
Oh, wow. So how did he find out?
He got an alert on his own phone.
A notification, you mean?
Yeah, like a notification. So he checked the footage and saw that it was these SWAT officers from Acure.
That's brazen.
It is. Now, the police, they were in the area because of some kind of conflict between a Navy captain, Jide Falad, and the local king.
Okay, what was the conflict about?
Well, it had to do with accusations of armed robbery and kidnapping.
Wow, so this all stems from that.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So Falad is arrested, and he appeared in court on March 21st.
Okay.
But the case was adjourned to the 22nd.
So that's when things started to heat up.
Yeah, it seems that way. Falad's supporters, they started protesting. And the SWAT officers, they arrested some of them.
And Falad?
He was remanded in custody at Olakuta prison. And there were reports that the police used tear gas and live ammunition to break up the protests.
That's scary.
Yeah, and then the protesters, they started throwing stones. It was pretty chaotic. The police even left a gun behind at one point, but it was returned later.
Oh, wow. Sounds like things got out of hand pretty quickly.
Yeah. And then, supposedly, the king, he took the SWAT officers to different houses and shops, including Mr. Adebole's.
And what happened?
They vandalized them.
That's terrible.
And Mr. Adebole's, even though he has the CCTV footage, he says his shop was specifically targeted.
That doesn't seem right.
Not at all. And there are reports that they assaulted residents, even killed some animals.
Wow, that's really disturbing. Is there any proof of this?
Yeah, Sahara reporters got some videos and photos that allegedly show the injuries the police inflicted. A woman, a young boy, they were beaten with sticks, one man with a cut on his head, another with a leg that was bleeding. It's pretty bad.
That's just horrific.
Mr. Adebole is calling for a full investigation and for the people responsible to be held accountable.
That's the least they could do.
Yeah. Captain Falad's next court appearance is set for March 28th.
We'll have to follow up on that. It's particularly worrying, with the SWAT unit.
What do you mean?
Well, there was supposed to be a replacement for SARS, right? Back in October 2020, after all those protests against police brutality.
Right, they were supposed to be better.
Exactly. It's concerning to see these kinds of allegations surfacing again.
You're right. It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely.
Well, those were the top news headlines for today, March 24th, 2025.
A lot to unpack there.
Yeah, definitely. We're committed to exploring these issues and, always keeping truth and justice at the forefront.
That's the most important thing.
Thank you for listening to the Today's Top News Headlines on IAMC Radio and Podcast.